All right, thanks for the introduction, Steve. And before I get going here, I'd like to really acknowledge the work by the DSS team. I'm the one presenting today, but it's really been conversations, discussions, and collaboration in service and science, and with STI as well over the last couple of years to kind of bring this this idea to fruition and make it really expand across Central Region. So Ali Kelly is our DSS team lead, co-lead with Jake Beitlek, who's a lead in Minneapolis. Andy Dixon has been working on this. He's our hydrologist in Grand Rapids. Jenny Pittman, our Sioux in Topeka. John Kurtz at Pleasant Hill, a lead there. And then Greg Havner, who's making the move from Pueblo to Boulder, the WSIM. So all have been active participants in this, and so I'd just like to acknowledge their work there. And I'm going to go ahead and hide my camera so you can focus on the slides and not whether I'm looking at the camera or not. So go ahead and do this. And yeah, I'd like to introduce this concept. I think shouldn't be anything terribly new to most of you. We've seen the use of key messages around the Weather Service or the use of key points. They're kind of used interchangeably for definitely a few years at least now. But the goal of this initiative is to expand the use of key messages across Central Region and then maybe even outside eventually. But it's also to reaffirm the AFD as really one of our flagship science communication products. You know, we've done a tremendous amount of work in Central Region and outside the region to automate graphics, our data visualization, stuff of that nature. You think about the wave graphics, the graphic IDSS, the Twitter warning and watch graphics. This, on the other hand, is more of an effort to streamline our communication processes and our service. And the idea here is that really there is no substitute for an expert. There's no substitute for an expert who is an effective communicator who, you know, keeps the audience in mind. And, you know, I'm a graphics guy, so I'm a fan of data viz, but our words matter and they do carry a lot of weight. And I think to the snow maps that Alex showed that you just saw in the previous talk, it looked like he had about a dozen up there. Some of them were beautiful visualizations, but without the expertise behind it, the explanation, the narrative, they may not carry as much weight. In fact, they don't. They could be often misunderstood. Just some background here. The use of key messages was identified in the roadmap, the last roadmap, in the focus area that was aimed at enhancing consistency across the region. So it was also wrapped in one of our AOP goals. However, this idea, again, I mentioned it's not new. It's been around. There are a number of offices. I think every time I kind of check out weather stories or DSS packets or emails to partners, I see new offices incorporating this concept all the time. So there's a number of FOs that are doing this. WPC does this for more significant precipitation and winter events. And then when there's active tropical activity, the Hurricane Center does this as well. So there is sort of a standard practice that's slowly growing in the agency. And the good news is you can actually begin today. We're going to talk a little bit about next steps, but there's nothing stopping you from starting this today. So this scenario is either you're probably relish this situation or maybe it's your worst nightmare. But communication is the delivery of information, and effective communication is not just delivering the information, but making sure it's received by our audience and understood by our audience. So can this person relay the information to the folks that are eagerly waiting in line there? It looks like they're kind of creeping in on the conversation there already. But can they pass it along? Can an EM communicate with their staff or with their public works department? So this is really kind of cuts at the core of the key message concept. We want to include key messages in the AFD and kind of use the key messages nomenclature. And we're going to continue to work with STI and our SUs to provide guidance and update the directive. There's a process in the works to modernize the AFD. So we're kind of working hand in hand with our STI division. Well, I think I don't have to probably drive this home, but there's really vast importance to our key messages, and this is really our expected outcome. Weather is complex, but key messages are not. These messages are important because they really do serve as the foundation, the science foundation, to a wide range of viewers. So we see this all the time. Sometimes the product headline, whether it's a tornado emergency or the message we put out in a weather story, or that scrolls on the top of our page, that's what our media takes the lead on. So here I just got some screen grabs of danger of tornadoes at night. that could be directly as a result of some of our messaging and our timing that we put out about a tornado situation. I see a tornado emergency graphic here. The use of dangerous or catastrophic, these sort of buzzwords that we can deliberately choose and include as part of our key messages can really go a long way in amplifying our media's message and really kind of, instead of us taking the back seat as messengers, we have more of a forward-leaning approach and really can help drive the message. You know, the DSS team believes that key messages are valuable at any time, even during quiet weather. You know, if there's a threat for thunderstorms to be extended, and we really just don't think there's much of a threat for severe weather, saying that is in fact a good key message. But they obviously have quite a bit more value in scenarios that have significant chance on impacts to society, complex systems, maybe systems that have high uncertainty, where it's really difficult just to throw out a snow map or an image and just have that stand on its own. So that's where we really add value as science communicators. Just so there's no misunderstanding, here's just how we define a key message. They're a means of communicating the main points of information to our NWS partners, members of the media, and the public. They are bite-sized summations that articulate relevant weather, water, and climate information. So we're not just talking about weather, right? And our weather hazards. Extending this to our water hazards, climate information, maybe even getting past the 1 to 7 day time frame, thinking in that 1 to 2 week or sub-seasonal or seasonal. So key messages shouldn't be confined just to kind of the next few days. Here are some attributes of a good key message. They're concise, strategic, relevant, simple, memorable, real, tailored, and targeted when applicable. So just plain language, good key messages. It's really a switch from how we traditionally communicate as scientists in journal articles or things of that nature, right? It's more of how a news agency would communicate, where we load our important bottom line up front, our key messages sort of at the top of our AFD in this case. And then we still have all the good nuggets, the so what, the details, the supporting technical and science information below our top line messages. But we put the message right up front, so it's not lost in a you know, could be a great technical and scientific discussion, but we need to be able to articulate that right up front. Just wanted to highlight that there's a lot of overlap from what we're talking about here with good key messages and what effective risk communication is. So some of the same words about specificity, consistency, clear and accurate, use plain language, describe hazard, not just what it is, but location and timing, those sorts of things. So I wanted to. This is something that's taught at our SU development and our WCM development courses that we have here in KC. So Dr. Brooke Liu, this is actually taken right from one of her slides, and she refers to some NOAA resources as well. So this I think is directly applicable to the key message initiative. Also wanted to highlight that key messages could and should leverage probabilistic information. I snipped this from one of the probabilistic training videos done by Phil Schumacher. This was on critically examining snowfall distributions. And this was an example of a short paragraph that could be included in AFD that has some probabilistic messaging and wording in there. And just to show that not only should we use probabilistic information, but we are already sort of writing key messages. We're just sort of burying them in our technical and scientific narrative. So I highlighted this portion. This can result in large gradients in snowfall, and small changes in the location of the band can result in significant changes in snowfall. You're talking probabilistically, but that is a great key message, and that's almost written beautifully as a plain language statement that then could be interpreted and used by our partners and by our media. And of course, a good key message can be the foundation for probabilistic information or graphical information shared on a weather story or in a partner briefing. So in this case, locally higher snowfall amounts. Even though we have a forecast that has numbers on it, the key message can give context to that. Wanted to show that not only key messages are great from a starting point, but they really should be viewed as the starting point for a workflow to populate all our other products and services. So not only can you copy and paste, now this is a real example from WFO Kansas City from last winter, I believe, February 16th of last year, where they had 4 key messages for a significant snow event, a winter storm, and just really quickly, just by looking at how the elements of each bullet point sort of changed, I could see how you could use this to copy and paste and populate all your other products. But you know what also is great about this? It actually helps you organize maybe the graphics or the slides you need. You are setting out the outline by writing key messages of what other sort of maybe graphics or products or services you need. So it really is not just a great from consistency and communication to our partners. It helps you sort of get your mind around what the most important things are, or what are the few things we really need to hit with the rest of our products and services. I don't want to go long on my time, so I'm just going to kind of jump. This is my last slide here. So next steps, there's continued collaboration between science and service, between STI and ISD, with the end goal then to sort of rewrite the CR directive supplement, really to describe a modernized AFD. We have a guidance document in the works. It's sort of a white paper guidance doc. It's not super long. It really just sort of articulates what I sort of breezed through here in this presentation. We're finalizing that. I need to really buckle down and finish this short training video that I'm trying to record that really just kind of goes from end to end with some examples of how to use key messaging that starts in the AFD and is used to populate our other products. There's still some work that we need to figure out on defining words of estimated probability. So WEPs is kind of as they're referred to at the shorthand. How we choose words to describe probability, since we're talking about key messages and words matter, using social science and our expertise of our SUs that kind of are really familiar with this literature to really make sure that we have the guidance to write the best and most effective key messages that are based on science. I think there's probably some future work that we need to do on collaborating messaging. We've talked, Alex and Derek talked about collaborating the headlines, and you're collaborating on WSSI and snow grids and all these other things, the actual the forecast. How much work do we really need to do, and how much effort do we need to put into collaborating the message? Having it in one spot in the AFD, for example, is a great first start. As a user in the Central Region ROC of your products, I know where to go. I know that Davenport put out a partner briefing packet, so I can go there and try to snip out some key messages. I go to an HWO for this office, and I can sort of patch it together because I work for the Weather Service. But having it in one spot in the AFD really could be powerful in terms of getting all our key messages in one spot, and kind of the starting point for it all. So again, I'll leave you with that, and I'll be happy to take any questions. And again, the great news is you can start with this today, even though there's some work with the guidance document for a short training video, and eventually a rewrite of our directive. There's nothing stopping you. In fact, there's a number of offices that are already doing this. So Phil, I'll go ahead and toss it, Phil or Steve, I'll toss it back to you, and I'm happy to take any questions.